everyone, I'm Leslie Beck here with the Ballerz Show. We are here today with Jake Dimartino, and we're going to do a little question and answer session with him, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his business and living the Ballerz lifestyle. So Jake, welcome. Thank you for being here today and kind of sitting down with us and sharing about your life and your passions. So just some basic information. How old are you? Where are you from? Any kids?
Sure. Thank you, by the way, for having me.
Absolutely.
I am 42 years old and happily married with 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old son named Dominic and a 15-year-old daughter named Anaya.
Nice.
And those are the joys of my life, I will say that. In 2015, I founded a company called Raadr.
Okay.
And it is the internet anti-bullying company. We put out products, mainly apps, for parents to be able to monitor their kids on social media.
Okay.
As you know, the online dangers are growing daily.
Yes.
So
yes.
it is a passion of mine to be able to, 1, help educate parents, and 2, protect our kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Just with everything going on today with the dangers kids face online, I mean, amazing idea. So I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Awesome.
So let's just start with some personal questions.
Sure.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you say, how competitive are you?
Definitely a 10.
Yeah?
No question. Yep.
It's a popular answer.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. With most entrepreneurs, I would imagine, just anybody in general who has ever even played sports, organized sports, grow up in that, I think you get your competitiveness when you're young, and then it just kind of spills over to later in life. So definitely a 10.
Okay.
For sure.
Great. So kind of going off that a little bit, what would you say in life might be your biggest failure, and then what did you learn from that?
Sure. Great question, by the way, too, because I think there's always an opportunity to learn from failure. That's where character really comes from. So the biggest mistake, and again, I look at this in a broad spectrum of things, is going into business with my own family.
Okay.
You know, the boardroom meetings were a lot different with an older brother and a dad. Even to the point of getting physical.
Oh no.
Yep, unfortunately. Okay. And I learned real quick that I care more about my family than I do about making money.
Sure.
So I think learning from that experience is, you know, you always want to have your family involved, but there's a fine line. And I would definitely give anybody advice out there who's looking to go in business with their family, just think twice about it.
Definitely.
Not as a bad thing, but I thought I should have put more thought into it. And I think that looking back right now is probably one of my biggest regrets. But I learned from it, no question.
That's good. It's always a good thing. What is the best compliment you've ever received from someone, whether it be family or just anyone in general?
Yeah, you know, that's another good question too. So I was in an airport one time in New York, and I did have a gentleman, complete stranger, come up to me. A very good-looking guy too. He was, and he said, "You know, when I die, I would love to come back and look like you."
Oh,
yes. So I'm like,
awesome.
thank you. I mean, this is a guy dressed in a really nice suit. He was way more outdressed than me, but it totally caught me off guard, and to this day, I'll never forget that.
That is a good compliment.
Yeah,
Very
pretty nice compliment.
Definitely. So what is something that maybe someone said to you that may have come from them as an insult, but maybe you kind of took a kind of as a compliment? Yeah.
You know, I coach youth football, and, you know, I've been in a few mild altercations where I've been accused of, I think, probably going over the top too much and getting too emotional in games, and protecting the kids too much.
Sure.
You know, as a dad of one of the kids on the team, and you know, after you coach these kids for a few years, they become your own kids.
I bet.
You want to make sure safety, you know, especially when you're playing tackle football being the most violent game in the world, safety comes big time. So I think sometimes in games there's been some things said where my emotions probably got the best of me, but it was just in love and protecting the kids. Definitely. So I'll take that insult any day.
Right, absolutely. What's a funny story your family, if we were all sitting around the table right now, that they would enjoy telling about you?
No question would be when I was 10 years old, I was at my friend Justin Grady's house. We were playing hide and go seek. I was staying the night. It was a Friday night. And I decided to climb up in this tree to hide, you know. So I got up to the tree. Everything is good. And then I grew up in Indiana, so we were out in a farm area, so I thought I saw a bat coming at me.
Okay, yep.
So I moved a little bit, and when I moved, the branch broke, and I hit every branch on the way down.
Ouch. Stopped
myself with my hands, okay? And my left wrist, I'm like, oh, that hurt, man, that hurt. But I'm good, I'm 10 years old, I'm good. So I stay the night at my friend's house, and then I get up in the morning, I go home, and my wrist is hurting more, and I'm like, Dad, something's wrong with my wrist, So my dad, being full-blooded Italian and very, very emotional person, high level emotion, what do you mean it's broken? He starts shaking my wrist. So he immediately brings my mom in, who had spent time in the RN as a nurse, and she advised me to go to the hospital in Indianapolis. So we go to the hospital in Indianapolis. Okay, this is where the story gets good. So I've got this wrist, and it's definitely broken. Okay, they take the x-ray. Right. My left wrist is broken. It's broken, no question. So after they take the x-ray, they put cream on both wrists. And when they put that cream, it kind of numbed my wrist. So I'm sitting here and I don't feel anything. And the nurse comes in and starts wrapping my right wrist. And I'm not paying attention. She wraps it all the way up, good to go. Hey, you're good. Take off. Walk out of the hospital, leave with my dad, and in about 10 minutes when that cream started to wear off, I'm like, Dad, this wrist is starting to hurt now too. So he stops the van on, I can't remember, I-70 in Indianapolis, yep. Stopped in the middle of traffic, pulled, what do you mean? He starts shaking the other wrist again. Anybody who knows my dad knows he's a full-on character and knows that the emotions were running very high. Mm-hmm. So then he decides to drive me all the way back home to my mom. Oh. We get home and explain to my mom what happened. So she calls the hospital. When we got to the hospital, I had 2 doctors outside waiting for me. They put me in a wheelchair and wheeled me in and had to cut it off. And my mom lit them up so much because of that mistake they made. Sure. But it's something we look back on. It was kind of funny because all the in-between little actions with my dad probably refractured my wrist, the doctor said, to where I had to have the cast on the whole summer.
So all in all, how long did that take?
I had the cast on for probably 8 months.
Oh, gosh.
And I should have only had it on for 3 months. So, that's a story I'll never ever forget. Yeah. I know my family will never forget that because, sure. Just of all the craziness at the hospital.
And it's one of those, like you say, I'm sure at the time it was not funny at all, but now it's, something you can look at that.
Oh, yeah. Even a year after, we were laughing at it. We were totally laughing at it. But it's something to this day my mom still gets a kick out of talking.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so kind of random question here. I know, thinking of your favorite movie is kind of hard, so we'll narrow it down a little bit. What's your favorite holiday movie, and why would you say that?
Definitely It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
And, that's a classic. They play it all the time on NBC, CBS during Christmas. But I think, when you really watch a movie like that and you really understand the meaning, specifically the spiritual part of it, which I am, it brings everything back to full circle when you're in the holidays, right? Yep. You can have everything, lose everything, and then get everything back, right? So it's I think one of the greatest movies of all time and one of the greatest sayings of all time. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Yeah. So I'll always love that movie.
Sure, good one, good pick. Okay. Here's a very just kind of off the wall question, but it gets you thinking. Mm-hmm. If you could spend 15 minutes in a hot tub with 4 different people, don't have to be famous, alive, dead, just 15 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about, 4 people, who would you pick?
So we would definitely go with, Donald Trump.
Okay.
Josh Allen. I can get into my reasonings there.
Okay.
Yep. Denzel Washington. I'm sorry, Denzel Washington, favorite actor of all time, and then Joel Osteen. Okay. Joel Osteen. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Denzel Washington, Joel Osteen, Donald Trump, and Josh Allen.
Okay, that's an interesting mix.
It is. It is. I feel like everybody in that hot tub would be really cool.
Yeah.
First of all, the conversations would be off the chart, no question. I think Josh Allen is the most popular NFL player. He plays for the Buffalo Bills. He should have went to the Super Bowl last year. He was in a game where the NFL changed the rule, and it's called now the Josh Allen rule. Anybody who watched that game will tell you it was the greatest game of all season last year, even better than the Super Bowl. So my dad's from Buffalo, so I'm a diehard Bills fan. Even though growing up in Indianapolis, you would think, why is he not a Colts fan? No, I'm a Bills fan. The Bills were really good in the early 90s, 4 Super Bowls, although we didn't win any. So Josh would be really cool. He already looks like a really cool guy. Sit back, have a beer. You know, obviously Donald Trump would be just a life treat to be able to talk to him about the country, about where things are specifically right now. Joel Osteen, I've always admired him. I've never ever watched him and not come away from that feeling better about myself and feeling positive. He is the mastermind of making you feel good and making it through Christianity and spirituality. You know, everybody thinks, oh, you know, I'm going to go to hell if I don't do this. I got to go to church. No, that's not how it is. That's not. And I think Joel Osteen relates to a lot of people. He's listened to by billions of people, not just here in the United States, all over the world. And then Denzel, no question, can play any role, right? I mean, one of my favorite movies is Man on Fire that he's in. It's a great movie. You know, Remember the Titans. I mean, again, with football and coaching, he just he's incredible. I listened to him speak too. If you've ever listened to him give any speeches at colleges or these big universities, his main thing is put God first. Put God first in everything you do. And I think him being on the stage and delivering that, especially being in Hollywood, and how there's such of that liberal thing right now in the world, I think that individuals like that need to speak up more. They need to talk more. I think you'll see too, there's going to be a lot more faith-based films coming out, specifically like Father Stu, specifically like some of these movies that Mel Gibson is producing. So, and I bet you Denzel will be in some of those movies.
All right, well, we'll see. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. What would be your biggest pet peeve?
Well, I don't want to get too political, but I would say far left liberal people is my biggest pet peeve. It really is. Again, I accept everybody and love everybody, but you know, when there's this notion when we start to involve our kids and push things on our kids, you never see anybody on the right side doing that. There's no laws that conservatives are passing. There's no bills that conservatives are passing to normalize pedophilia, to, you know, basically shove pansexualism down our kids' throats like Disney's doing. So, you know, it's a really big issue with me, and I think I'm one voice of many too. A lot of people think pet peeve, well, that's kind of a big pet peeve. Well, unfortunately, it's the society we live in right now. So that is definitely one of my biggest pet peeves, no question.
Okay. So if you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you think you might spend that on?
You know, that's a great question. I would put that into the hands of military officials that I could trust to track down these sex trafficking rings. Sex trafficking has gone on since the beginning of time, right? It's the worst part of humanity. It's the worst part of anything when you are kidnapping kids and selling them. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the individuals that are participating in this are from right here in the United States. And I think that, now $10 million, yeah, is that a lot of money? Well, you know, it is. It is. And, you know, there's individuals like Ashton Kutcher. He started a technology company called Thorn where they take kids out of, you know, sex trafficking. And I know what he invested into that and went and spoke in front of Congress. And I think that putting that kind of money into that could pay huge dividends to saving lives, you know, stopping all this craziness that goes on that a lot of people don't understand goes on quite a bit. It does. Wow, so I would put it towards that.
Awesome. Wonderful. 5 years down the line, what do you think our world is going to look like?
I think it's going to get better. I do. Not that we live in a terrible society or terrible world, but, you know, it's obviously changed since 2020. You know, just look at how everything's changed. We went from wearing masks and wiping everything down and seeing lines of thousands of people to get tests to now it's getting back to some normalcy. I think a lot is going to change when the tide changes politically. I think that you're going to see a really big awakening. I think you're going to see an awakening with Christians. I think you're going to see awakening with just people that want better for their kids and want better for this country, because the way things have been going is everything is doom and gloom. Everything is, this side versus that side. I think it's going to get a lot better. I think prosperity is going to come. I think things will get better, but it all starts from the top, and there's going to be a leader change.
Sure.
There was definitely going to be a leader change. So I can't wait for that, Leslie.
What about 50 years from now?
Now, that's an interesting question. So 50 years from now...
A little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different. Again, I've mentioned in this interview that I'm a spiritual person, obviously. I do believe in the Bible. I believe about things that are historically been proven. That's the thing about the Bible. Historically, and with artifacts and archaeology, you can't dispute that Jesus didn't come back. That happened. So it says in the Bible he's going to come back again, right? So 50 years from now, I see the rapture happening in 50 years.
50 years,
I
wow.
really do. I really do. I see it happening. I see that the way things are lining up, how they're described in the Bible, and how things are happening in the world. Now, not within the next decade, right? But there is going to come a time where the Antichrist is going to present himself, and he's going to come from the Middle East. He's going to look Middle Eastern, is what it said in the Bible. And that is coming, I don't think within this next decade or even the following decade, but within 50 years, the way things are lining up with the Middle East and China and those two foreign bodies coming together, I think over time that we will see a line being drawn and a big war, and then the rapture happening. I truly believe that. And there are millions of other people that not only believe that, but there are people that talk about this on a regular basis. Now, we get back to reality right now. Well, people can't fathom that kind of stuff, right? But 50 years from now, that would make me 92 years old. So that would make my son 60 years old, right? My daughter would be 65. So, at their age, with that happening, I could see it. I don't think I'll be around in 50 years, but I do
Really?
think...
You don't think
Yeah,
so?
no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Again, if I'm going off the averages, most males last till about late 80s.
Yeah, women, it's going up, though.
It is.
You look
It's
very
going
healthy.
up. Yeah, I try to stay. I really do, but... you never know when your time is up.
Very true. Very true.
I do have a great aunt though, and a great uncle. I'll show you their picture. They're mid-90s. They drive. They look amazing.
There you go. Yeah.
They look better than a lot of 60-year-olds.
Sure, I bet.
Great skin. That kind of stuff helps. But if I am around, I'll be thankful. If I'm not, I'll be upstairs waiting for everybody. So.
All right. So what motivates you?
Family, definitely. Kids, wife, mom and dad, and my team. Like I mentioned, I've been coaching. I've formed a relationship with a lot of these young men and mentoring them, talking to them outside of the game, just about life. Unfortunately, not all kids have a mom and a dad, right?
True.
There are kids that are on our team that don't have that experience. So that really, really motivates me. It really, really does. Seeing them, watching them perform, not even in sports, just coming to their school events, that type of relationship. It makes me feel great, motivates me too.
Definitely. Great. So you talked a little bit about your business, your app, the anti-bullying. Thinking about that, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now in that type of business, or just in general with that subject matter?
No, great question. We're currently, the biggest challenge is launching the app right now.
Okay.
We've got it live in Android. iOS is a whole different ball game.
Okay.
They take forever, and they're just a lot more stringent. And there were a lot of doubters on what my technology could do. We perfected it for years. There were many people that looked to me straight in my face that I respect, and colleagues, and they said, "Jacob, this will never work because the way Facebook blocks their IPs and the way Instagram monitors things, you're not going to be able to penetrate."
Okay.
Well, they were wrong. And I knew they were wrong. The biggest challenge right now, though, is just getting it to the masses.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge. And I'm working with two really, really great groups that are going to help infuse this product to the right eyeballs.
Great.
Parents, grandparents.
Those are the ones that need it, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
School administrators, people that are right in the line of fire dealing with these things all the time that we see on the news.
Yeah.
You know, so biggest thing right now is that, you know, we did successfully have an app launch party for our Android.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, back in February, and now the biggest challenge is just getting it released on iOS.
Okay.
It really is. So if you ever launch an app, just be ready.
Yeah.
You'll have it available on Android in an hour.
Interesting.
And probably 2 years on iOS.
I have iOS, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Who has been your most important coach or mentor in life or business?
Sure, another great question. No question, mom and dad. Yeah, they incredible people. You know, they give not only great advice, but you know, they're spiritual people. They're always praying grace and blessings over you, and you can't ask for that more than that. Like, you know, my dad was a social worker for years. He started nonprofits in Indianapolis. He started a company called Alfie, which is Association Loan Free Education. So he was taking kids from the inner city and taking them around Indianapolis and Indiana and showing them Vincennes College and showing them Ball State University and showing them there's more than the east side of Indianapolis and drugs and this. There's this. So seeing that growing up, and he didn't make a lot of money, but now on the flip side, my mom, she was a salesman. She's an entrepreneur, saleswoman, excuse me. You probably don't remember a company, now it's slipping my mind, but she did sales for them over the phone. Amway. You remember Amway? You probably don't remember Amway.
Yeah, definitely rings a bell.
So she was one of their top producers. I promise you, my mom got checks when we were kids. She worked from home. She and my dad were both breadwinners, but I learned a lot from that mentality and that attitude, you know, and it just rubbed off. And then anytime I'm when I need advice. Now, if it's specific business advice for something, you know, I'm going to call an attorney. I'm going to call this person. But when I need advice, man, I'm calling my dad, you know, or I'm calling my mom.
Yeah, same.
You know, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I find it's a popular answer, and I love to hear that because, like I said, the same way. So,
it really is, and you know, unfortunately, not everybody has an upbringing where they can say that their mom and their dad are there. But I'm very fortunate to be able to say that.
Absolutely. What's one lesson that you've learned in life or in business that you think everyone at some point should learn?
You know, I think that learning how to say no is a big thing. You know, when I first started and got into business, you know, everything was, oh yeah, that sounds like ready. Yeah, sure, let's get that computer. Oh yeah, let's build this igloo for this and this. You don't even know the kind of money that was absolutely wasted because I said yes and I should have said no. So I think the biggest thing is learning how to say no up front when you start your business. You know, be very, very open-minded, be shrewd, but you have to learn how to say no.
Sure, definitely. What time of day do you get your best work done?
Early, no question. Yep. Usually, typically 7, 8 a.m. to like 10 a.m. You know, because Raadr is a public company, you know, we're dealing with East Coast hours, right? So 7 a.m. here is 10 a.m. there already.
Right.
So I have investors that are calling me at 6 a.m. Eastern, which is 3 a.m. Arizona time. So, but my best work is definitely in the morning. Get my coffee, get that breakfast and that power breakfast, and then just get immediately to work, cram out all the major tasks, you know, that I do are always early in the morning. My Zoom calls are almost always early in the morning, unless it's a West Coast investor, West Coast client. I'm dealing on East Coast hours.
Gotcha.
So early is when I get it done.
We're always behind. What's the
Yeah, I know. And now it's staying like that, you know?
Right,
They're going to stay 3 hours and they're not going to go back to the time change. So it is what it is. We deal with it.
Exactly, right? Okay, so let's do some fill in the blanks here. And if you had the ability right now to fire anyone in any position, who would that be and why?
So it would definitely be the President, Joe Biden.
Okay.
I think that, again, I know this obviously is going to be political, but it's a question, and this is the answer.
Okay.
So I
think respect that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. The reason I would fire Joe Biden is just simply because he is not all there. You know, I think it's sad that his family has him out in the public eye and acting the way he's acting. I think it now makes our country look very weak. If you just look, again, and this isn't to be negative, but if you just look, you know, inflation, gas, go to the grocery store, you know, I mean, everything is up. So, and it all starts at the top. Leadership starts at the top. So, you know, that guy, in my opinion, right now, needs to go. He needs to go
Okay.
immediately. Unfortunately, I can't make that call,
Well,
but
true.
yeah, but if I could, he would be the first one to go. No
Okay.
question, and that's why.
Okay. I have absolutely no desire to.
I have no desire to see or hear Joe Biden anymore.
Okay.
At all. On TV, on the radio. You know, for my life to be positive, I got to block that out. So I have no desire to see him or hear him ever again.
Okay. I would pay $1 million to.
I would pay $1 million to start a youth center
Nice.
in downtown Phoenix.
Very good.
So we have, you know, like a lot of areas, Phoenix is a big city. You know, we have a lot of kids that don't have access to a gym, you know, play ball, to work out. You know, Phoenix is a hotbed for youth talent. I know this, specifically football, specifically on the south side of Phoenix, down where most people don't want to go, right? They don't want to go down there. A lot of reasons why. So I would build the most state-of-the-art center down there. It probably costs more than $1 million with what I want to do. But I would call it the Buff Center because of the Buffs, my team. And you know, I would make it 24 hours a day open. I would give it, you know, if you live in that community, it's yours. You get it. It's 24/7, gyms, pools, you know, even have the grass turf where you can have indoor flag football games. Like, it would be state of the art. It would. And they build these type of facilities. They have one out in Mesa called Bell Bank Park.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's huge. It's massive. I would do that, though, and I would do it on the south side.
Gotcha.
Because they need it down
Sure.
there. You know, they don't have anything like we have. So, and I've been down there recruiting before, and I know this. There's hardly anything down on the south side that a young youth athlete could look at as a safe haven to go train.
Nice.
So that I think would pay huge dividends, specifically to the kids that use it, that perform well in youth, then go on in high school, and they go to college, and they remember Jake when they signed the NFL.
Oh, there you go.
You know, and then they're like, oh yeah, I remember him.
That's why
So
they're there,
yeah, exactly. So to pay dividends is just a long-term investment, is what
There
you
you
call
go.
that, long-term
Sure.
investment.
Well, that's a
So,
great answer.
but I really would do that. I really would.
That's awesome. Well, let's wrap up by having you tell us just briefly. We talked, I know, at the beginning a little bit about your app that you're launching. So anyone that's watching this that's kind of dealing with, you know, kids with their kids and concerned about the social
Yes.
media things, bullying, where can they find you? What can you tell them? What do you hope to see kind of, you know, in the near future
Sure.
with what you're doing?
That's great too. Thank you for bringing that up. First of all, I would tell a parent to be very vigilant. You know, be vigilant about your kid. I don't care if they're the best kid and they're not involved in anything. Be vigilant because you have no clue. Secondly, I would say, first of all, check the company out on Raadr.com, which
Okay.
is RAADR.com.
Okay.
Check the company out there, read our press releases, go into how the app works. Everything is explained there. Then they can download the app from there as well,
Great.
too. I would then tell them, once they get the app downloaded, to, you know, periodically check it. You know, it's going to feed them information every 6 to 12 hours. It's going to bring up any posts that are related to their child's name, any keywords that are related to their kid.
Wow, that's
This
great.
this is huge. It's important for them to have a snapshot of what's going on, you know, because you never know. Some of the best kids are suicidal. Some of the best looking kids get picked on. The ugly kids get picked on. The big kids, the small kids, I mean, they don't hold back now. Kids with special needs get picked on. It's terrible. So I tell parents when I'm out at schools talking, be vigilant, be involved. Know who the heck your kids are hanging out with too. Know who their friends are. Know who those parents are. Are there any stepkids in the house? Are there any like you know, you've just got to be in the world that they're in, and you've got to do it in a way where you don't feel like you're being overly intrusive. You know, this app will help parents do that because it'll give a parent a snapshot of what's going on. Their child doesn't necessarily need to know or have to know they're being monitored.
Sure.
But then
Yeah.
when things come in that are valuable nuggets of information, and parents can address it and
Definitely.
hopefully, like in my situation with my daughter, be able to improve their social media etiquette online.
Gotcha. That's great. Well, I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. I find it fascinating that parents are going to be able to just kind of be more involved with their kids. And like you said, it's something that's needed, unfortunately. But yeah, it's great. Have you ever used any of the Ballerz products? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Yes, actually, I have.
Okay, good.
Ballerz is located in Scottsdale,
Yes.
Arizona, where Raadr is located. So I do know Ballerz CEO, great guy, and I love the product.
Great.
So a little bit of feedback on it. You know, I used to wear Tommy John's.
Okay.
And I would say that that's their biggest competitor. And Ballerz, no question, is way more comfortable than Tommy John's. So I would suggest Ballerz to anybody, even women. I know a lot of women wear the men's boxer briefs now. It's a fad, I guess we'll call it. But they're very comfortable, and I've gotten some of my best work in wearing my Ballerz.
Very nice. Love to hear it. All right.
Thank you.
You heard it here, guys. Ballerz over Tommy John. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed our conversation, and best of luck to you.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on today. Thank you, everyone.